This is the story of Daniel Whitaker, who is a father, husband and a pillar of the community. And murderer. The aroma of pancakes fills the air. The clatter of dishes, the giggle of a child, the warmth of home. Emily, 9, Daddy, you forgot the chocolate chips. Daniel, late 30s, athletic, charming, what? A pancake without chocolate chips? That's practically a crime. They laugh. He scoops her into his arms, spinning her around. Julia, early 30s, wife, kind-hearted. You spoil her. She's going to expect this every morning. Daniel, then every morning she shall have it. The perfect father, the loving husband, the one everyone admires. Daniel volunteers at the church, helping set up for a charity event. He's everyone's favorite. Pastor Reed, Daniel, you're a blessing. I don't know what we'd do without you. Daniel, humbly, just doing my part, Pastor. The room is dark. The clock ticks past midnight. Daniel sits alone, staring at a file. Newspaper clippings, photographs, faces crossed out with red ink. He opens a drawer and pulls out a lockbox. Inside, a scalpel. They say the most dangerous monsters wear the most convincing masks. The detective department, Leah Monroe, 40s, seasoned, skeptical, third body this month. Same MO male, mid-30s, throat slit, no signs of forced entry. Detective Ramirez, 30s, analytical, killer knew them. Or at least knew how to get close. Clean, surgical cuts, almost, practiced. Monroe, all professional. Under the car's false floor, Daniel places a new item, a man's wallet. He stares at it for a moment before closing the compartment. Daniel whispers, forgive me. In the school auditorium, father-daughter talent show, laughter, music, applause. Daniel and Emily perform a silly dance routine. Everyone cheers. Julia, tearing up, whispering to a friend, he's such a good dad, you know. I hit the jackpot with him. Fog drapes over the broken building. Inside, a man pleads. Victim, tied to chair. Please, I don't even know you. Daniel, calmly, surgical gloves on, no. But I know what you did. I saw the file. You hurt children. And now, someone has to stop you. Victim, that's not true. I was acquitted. Daniel, acquitted, not innocent. He lowers the scalpel. Leah stares at her wall of victims. All former suspects in child abuse or assault cases. All walked free. Monroe, to herself. This isn't random. It's judgment. Inside Daniel's living room, later that night, he watches old home videos of Emily. Laughing, running. Daniel, to himself, voice trembling, I'm doing this for her, for them all. He breaks into sobs, muffling the sound in his hands. Ramirez enters with new lab results. Ramirez, DNA came back. Still no match. But there's a pattern. All the victims were acquitted of charges related to minors, last 5 years. Monroe, we're not looking for a thrill killer. We're looking for someone who thinks he's a damn hero. A wall of faces, timelines, news articles. It's methodical, organized. In the center, a photo of a man in his 50s, labeled, next. Laughter, neighbors, kids playing. Daniel flips burgers, laughing with a friend. His eyes, however, keep drifting to the man across the yard. The man from the photo. They never suspected. Why would they? He was the man who hosted the cookouts. The dad who chaperoned school trips. The killer who believed his mission was righteous. Daniel tucks Emily in. Emily, will you still be here when I wake up? Daniel smiles, always. He kisses her forehead, but his eyes are distant. He drives into the city. Calm, focused, screams echo briefly, then silence. Daniel wipes the blade. Another name off the list. One by one, the ghosts of his mind fall silent. But justice has a way of catching up. And shadows always grow when the sun goes down. She pins a new photo to the board, the same man Daniel just killed. Monroe, 6 victims. All had the day in court. All walked. We're not chasing a killer. We're chasing a crusade. A shadow watches from across the street. A figure in a car. Detective Monroe. She watches Daniel kiss his wife goodnight at the front door. Monroe, you think you're invisible. You think you're doing good. But I see you, Daniel Whitaker. And I will bring you down. Daniel Whitaker was a father, a husband, and a killer. By day, he played tea parties and built science projects with his daughter. By night, he brought death to men he believed had escaped justice. But as the bodies stack higher, so do the questions. And someone is watching him now. The hunter is about to become the hunted. The sound of rain taps gently on the windows. Daniel sits at the breakfast table, staring blankly at his coffee. His hands shake subtly. Julia, you okay, honey? You didn't sleep again, did you? Daniel, forcing a smile, I'm fine. Just had a weird dream. Emily, cheerful, was it the one where you were a superhero again? Daniel smiles softly. If only she knew. Daniel, something like that. Leah Monroe stares at her investigation board. Lines connect 6 victims, all acquitted of child-related charges. A photo of Daniel, far from obvious, sits in the corner under a sticky note, community father. Ramirez, you're still stuck on him. He's clean. Family man. Background check came up boring. Monroe, too clean. People like him. Always smiling. Always involved. I don't buy it. We need eyes on him. Daniel plays catch with Emily. He laughs, genuinely happy, or trying to be. Neighbor, passing by, your little girl's got quite the arm. Daniel takes after her mom, but behind the smile, his eyes scan the park. Watching, calculating. Across the street, a man leans against a black sedan, watching him. Plainclothes cop. Leah Monroe's order. Officer Carter, into radio, subject still at the park. No suspicious activity, just being a dad. Monroe, over comms, don't underestimate him. Keep watching. He slips at night. The secret room is lit dimly. Files, photos, and a new name in bold red letters. Dr. Thomas Elder, pediatrician 2014 misconduct case, dismissed. Daniel clenches his fists. Daniel, muttering, you touched 6 children and walked free. Not this time. He loads a small bag, gloves, tape, a syringe. Int. Surveillance van, same night, Carter. Subject leaving the house. Backpack, headed east. Int. Monroe's car. Simultaneously, Monroe races through streets, following Carter's coordinates. Monroe, to herself, come on, Daniel, show me who you really are. In Suburban Street at 1:43 a.m. Daniel parks 2 blocks from a gated estate. Dr. Elder's house. He scales the fence like he's done this before. Inside Elder house, moments later, a creak on the hardwood floor. Dr. Elder wakes up. Dr. Elder, who's there? Before he can react, Daniel steps from the shadows, syringe in hand. Daniel, time's up, doctor. He lunges. Monroe arrives. She sees Daniel's car and draws her weapon. Monroe, into radio, back up to my location. Now, she races toward the house. Daniel stands over a bound Dr. Elder, now unconscious. He pulls a roll of plastic from his bag. Then, Monroe, drop it, Daniel. Daniel freezes. Monroe stands in the doorway, gun aimed. Monroe, tense, it's over. Hands where I can see them. Daniel, calmly, you're early. Monroe, you were going to kill him. Daniel, he deserves it. Monroe, you're not judge, jury, and executioner. Daniel raises his hands, slow, but his eyes flick to a nearby knife on the counter. Monroe, don't, I will shoot. A tense silence. Then Daniel lowers his arms and drops to his knees. Daniel, you don't know what I've seen. Squad cars light up the street. Dr. Elder is taken away in an ambulance, alive. Daniel sits in cuffs in the back of a police car. Ramirez, we got him. Monroe, to herself, maybe. But something's not adding up. In police station, interrogation room, early morning, Monroe sits across from Daniel. Monroe, you've been doing this how long? Daniel, cold, 4 years. Monroe, why? Daniel hesitates. Then slowly, Daniel, because no one helped her. Monroe frowns. Monroe, who? Daniel doesn't answer. He looks away. Justice isn't always blind. Sometimes, it's just too late. And some scars never heal. Julia finds Daniel's secret room. The walls of faces. The notes. The scalpel. The evidence. She drops to her knees, horrified. Julia, sobbing, oh my God, what did you do? Flashback 10 years ago, a much younger Daniel cradles a crying little girl. She's bruised, traumatized. A judge's gavel slams down, case dismissed. Before he was a killer, he was a father grieving a stolen childhood. Now, vengeance has consumed him. Int. Holding cell. Later that night, Daniel stares at the wall. Emotionless. In the police station at Monroe's office, Monroe receives a call. She picks it up. Monroe. Detective Monroe. She listens. Her expression changes. Monroe. What do you mean there's another one? Daniel Whitaker is behind bars. The loving father. The nighttime executioner. His secret life now exposed. His family shattered. But the killings haven't stopped. Another body. Same style. Same message. So if Daniel's in custody, who's still out there? In the police station at Monroe's office. Night. Detective Monroe paces, phone still in hand. Monroe, tell me everything. Unseen voice, on phone. Victim's name is Scott Lyman. History of abuse, case thrown out in 2016. Same pattern, slit throat, clean, no fingerprints. Monroe stares out the window. Monroe, to herself, we caught the wrong man. Or he wasn't working alone. Daniel sits on the cold bench, hands folded. Calm, focused. Monroe enters. Monroe, another body. Daniel, last night. Daniel's eyes shift slightly, then back to her. Daniel, wasn't me. Monroe, you expect me to believe that? Daniel, I've been here, you know that. You're the one who watched me surrender. Monroe, leaning in, so either you trained someone, or you inspired them. A pause. Daniel, maybe I'm not the only one who sees how broken the system is. Julia sits on the basement floor, surrounded by files. Her hands tremble. Emily sleeps upstairs. She finds a locked drawer and opens it. Inside, an envelope. Old photos. A police report. A name circled in red. Victor Harrow. Julia's hand flies to her mouth. Her eyes flood with tears. Julia whispers, "You said we'd never speak of him again." Flashback 12 years ago. Dark motel room. Daniel storms in, a gun drawn. A man in his 50s cowers on the floor. Daniel, younger, shaking with rage. "You touched my niece, my family, and the court let you go." Victor Harrow. "I didn't." Bang. Daniel's first kill was personal. A man who destroyed a child's innocence. And in that moment, something in him fractured. A group of detectives gathers around Monroe and Ramirez. Monroe, the copycat, knew the pattern. Victim had no public record, his charges were sealed. "This isn't random, it's personal." Ramirez. "Then maybe Daniel wasn't acting alone." Monroe. "Or maybe, he lit a match, and someone else is fanning the flames." Then in the jail visitation room, Julia and Daniel. Daniel sits across the glass from Julia. Julia, tears streaming, "You promised we were done." After Harrow. Daniel. "I was done, until I saw another man smile on the news, free as a bird. And I remembered how she cried every night for a year. How justice meant nothing." Julia. "You're not the man I married." Daniel, softly, "Maybe I never was." Int. Emily's bedroom. Night. Emily clutches her teddy bear. Emily, to Julia, "Why isn't Daddy home yet?" Julia, forcing a smile, "He's on a work trip, sweetie. He'll be home soon." But her eyes betray the truth. Int. Police archives. Monroe and Ramirez. They dig through sealed case files, searching for any link. Ramirez. "Here, a man named Caleb Trent, former foster child, lived with the Whitakers for 3 months in 2010, then suddenly removed." Monroe. "And he's off the grid now. A name buried in the past. A child forgotten, and perhaps, reborn as something darker." A man, 20s, hoodie up, walks down an alley. Caleb Trent. He unlocks his door, steps inside, walls covered in newspaper clippings, red string connecting faces. He watches news footage of Daniel being arrested. Caleb, softly, "You showed me how to fight back. And I won't let them forget." In the jail interrogation room, Monroe returns to Daniel. Monroe. "You remember Caleb Trent?" Daniel stiffens. Daniel. "He was a good kid. Quiet, hurt, didn't talk much." Monroe. "He's not so quiet anymore. We think he's your copycat." Daniel lowers his head, silent. Monroe, sternly, "Where is he?" Daniel. "How much did you teach him?" Daniel, flatly, "I didn't have to teach him anything. The world taught him enough." In Emily's school the next day, Julia picks up Emily. On the school gate, a flyer has been posted anonymously. It shows a photo of Daniel, community dad. "OR serial killer." Parents whisper, teachers stare. Julia grabs Emily's hand tightly and walks faster. When monsters hide in plain sight, everyone starts looking over their shoulder. But what happens when the monster has a protege? Caleb sharpens a blade. Next to him, a new name written on paper, Stephen Corwin. He smiles at Daniel's mugshot on the screen. Caleb, softly, "You started the war, I'll finish it." Ramirez. Caleb's last foster records list an old address, way out near the county line. Monroe. "Get the team. Tonight." Daniel lies awake on his cot. He stares at the ceiling, whispering like a prayer. Daniel. "Don't do it, Caleb. Don't become me." Caleb Trent was once a forgotten foster child. Abused, silenced, abandoned, until Daniel Whitaker showed him a new path, one drenched in blood. Now, Daniel's behind bars, and Caleb is on the hunt. But what happens when the student becomes more dangerous than the teacher? Detective Monroe and Ramirez race down a dark country road. Monroe. "This place is a ghost town. He picked it for a reason." Ramirez. "We sure he's there?" Monroe. "No, but we're out of time. If we don't stop him, there'll be another body by morning." The place is falling apart, peeling wallpaper, rotting floorboards. Caleb stands over a man tied to a chair, Stephen Corwin, mid-50s, bruised and terrified. Caleb, calmly, "You remember her, 8 years old, blonde. She told the truth, and you lied." Corwin, pleading, "Please, I was never charged." Caleb, "Exactly." He raises a blade. In the prison visitation room, same time, Daniel's in a state of panic as Julia appears through the glass again. Daniel, "You have to listen to me. Caleb's not like me. He's angry, reckless. He won't stop." Julia, "You raised him." Daniel, "He was a child. You let him into our home." Daniel, soft, "Because no one else would." Julia, angry, "And now there's blood on our daughter's name. She's being bullied, laughed at, shunned." Daniel leans forward, urgent. Daniel, "You have to take Emily and leave town. Now." Julia doesn't respond. Her silence is answer enough. Flashback 2010. Daniel and Caleb in the garage. The younger Daniel shows Caleb how to sand a piece of wood for a bookshelf. Daniel, "Always smooth the edges, otherwise someone gets hurt." Caleb, quiet and thoughtful, watches him with admiration. Caleb, softly, "I like it here." Daniel, Good, you're safe now. But safety is temporary when trauma goes unhealed. Caleb's pain didn't fade, it festered. Monroe and Ramirez move in, guns drawn. They hear a muffled voice. Then a scream. Monroe, clear right. Ramirez, down. They burst into the basement. Caleb is gone. Only Corwin remains, bloody, alive, shaking. Pinned to his chest is a note. You saved a monster. I took one away. Monroe, slamming the note on the table, he's spiraling. Daniel had a twisted code, but Caleb, he's just burning everything. Ramirez, what now? Monroe, we use the only person he still listens to. A CO approaches. CO, visitor, and not the wife this time. Daniel looks up. Interrogation room. Later, Daniel sits with Monroe, his eyes darker than ever. Monroe, you said Caleb wouldn't become you. Daniel, I was wrong. Monroe, then help us stop him. Daniel, I don't know where he is. Monroe, but you know how he thinks. Daniel exhales slowly, then, almost reluctantly, Daniel, he'll go after judges next. Anyone who failed him. He believes pain is the only sentence they deserve. In the courthouse parking garage, the next day, a judge walks to her car. We see Caleb's figure in the shadows. Watching, waiting, he pulls a knife. Then, a voice behind him. Daniel, this isn't the way. Caleb. Caleb turns, stunned. Daniel, in cuffs, escorted by agents, steps forward. Caleb, Daniel, you want to be free of your pain. This won't do it. Caleb, angry, you started this. Daniel, and I'm ending it. Caleb, desperate, we were fixing the world. Making it safer for kids like us. Daniel steps closer. Daniel, I didn't fix anything. Caleb, I made it worse. Please, stop this, before you become something you can never come back from. Caleb hesitates, tears in his eyes, then sirens wail. SWAT units flood the garage. Caleb, softly, I'm already gone. He runs. Gunshots. Tires screech. Chaos erupts, but Caleb vanishes into the darkness. Daniel is returned to his cell. He stares at the wall, the cracks in the concrete. Daniel, to himself, this is all my fault. One man's vengeance became another man's purpose. But what happens when the monster you inspired refuses to stay in the shadows? In a dark room, at an unknown location, Caleb opens a laptop. On screen, a livestream setup. A list of names, a manifesto. He's planning something big. Caleb, to camera, recording, they call us criminals. But we're just survivors fighting back. Soon, the world will see. The story, you know it's only getting darker. And trust me, you're going to want to see how it all ends. So if you're hooked, hit that like button and subscribe right now. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens when justice turns deadly. Daniel Whitaker thought his crimes ended with his arrest. But Caleb Trent, the broken boy Daniel once took in, has reignited the flame. And now, the world watches as a monster steps out of the shadows. Not to hide, but to be heard. Daniel jolts awake to sirens blaring down the cell block. A guard rushes by. Daniel, what's going on? No answer. Daniel presses his ear to the bars. Screams echo through the hallway. A guard's TV flickers just within view. Something is being broadcast on every channel. Monroe and Ramirez stand in front of a massive screen. Caleb, on screen, you all think you live in a just society. But your courts, your laws, they protect the guilty. I am not the disease. I am the cure. His face is visible now. Mask off. No fear. Behind him is a wall lined with photos, mugshots of convicted offenders, some never prosecuted. Crosses mark the ones already dead. Caleb, conted, this is my manifesto. For every innocent the system failed. I will return the balance. Then, a chilling countdown begins, 48 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds. Ramirez, what the hell is that? Monroe, he's going to kill again. But this time, it's not just personal. It's a statement. Daniel sits at the glass again. This time, it's Monroe across from him. Monroe, you see what you've started. Daniel, I never wanted this. Monroe, then help us stop him. Daniel, he won't talk to you. But maybe he'll listen to me. In a safe house, Caleb's hideout, Caleb watches the news. Some condemn him, others praise him. He scrolls through comments, hashtags trending, hashtag Caleb Justice, hashtag fix the system. He smiles. For the first time, he feels seen. Then his laptop pings. An encrypted message. Daniel, VO, written. You used to be the boy who built birdhouses. Now you build coffins. Let me show you what you're becoming. Caleb stares at it. His smile fades. In the elementary school playground the next day, Julia walks Emily to school. Parents whisper again. A teacher approaches. Teacher, Julia, I'm sorry. There's been an emergency meeting. We've been asked not to let Emily return until this situation is resolved. Julia is stunned. Julia, she's 6. She's not her father. But the teacher doesn't budge. Emily clutches Julia's hand. Emily, did I do something wrong? Julia, softly, no, sweetie. you did everything right. The sins of the father now fall on the child. And with every broadcast Caleb releases, Daniel's family unravels further. Daniel is moved under heavy guard. He's placed in a small room with a camera and microphone. Agent, OS, you have one shot. Make it count. Daniel takes a deep breath. Daniel, to camera, Caleb, I know what I did to you. I know I made you believe vengeance is justice. But you're wrong. And in the safe house, Caleb watching the video, Daniel's face fills his laptop screen. Daniel, VO, you don't have to become the thing that hurt you. You don't have to become me. Caleb's hands tremble. For a moment, he closes the laptop. Monroe, we traced the signal bounce. He's somewhere in the northeast quadrant. We're close, Ramirez, but we've only got 36 hours before that timer hits 0. Monroe, then we need to figure out who his next target is before he makes it live. In Daniel's cell, that night, Daniel sits alone, hands in his lap. Daniel, VO, they called me a father, a protector, but I destroyed everything I loved trying to fix a world I didn't understand. He pulls out a folded photograph, Julia, Emily, and himself. A single tear rolls down his face. Daniel sees now that justice without mercy is just another kind of cruelty. Caleb prepares, loads a gun, tapes another manifesto to the camera. Caleb, today, the world stops pretending monsters don't exist. But behind him, the window flickers. A shadow moves, then a thud, flashbang, SWAT storms in. Caleb, screaming, no, no, you can't silence me. They wrestle him down. SWAT commander, target secured. Monroe and Ramirez watch the countdown on Caleb's stream end and fizzle into static. Monroe, we got him. Ramirez, it's over, but Monroe isn't convinced. Monroe, no, not until Daniel pays for what he started. In the courtroom, days later, the trial begins. Cameras flash. The world watches. Daniel enters, shackled, head held low. Julia and Emily sit in the back row. A man who played God. A boy who became a storm. And a family left to pick up the shattered pieces. Prosecutor, to jury, Daniel Whitaker killed men in cold blood. And he raised another killer in his image. Defense, Daniel targeted only men with histories of abuse, men the system had failed to prosecute. Does justice mean blind punishment? Or understanding the root? The jury watches, unblinking. The world holds its breath. The mask is off. The truth is out. And now, Daniel Whitaker stands before the world, not as a father, not as a protector, but as a killer. In this courtroom, justice won't just be handed out. It will be ripped apart. In courtroom, day 1, a packed courtroom. Media everywhere. Cameras flash. The judge enters. Bailiff, all rise for the Honorable Judge Karen Miles. Daniel is brought in, hands cuffed, flanked by 2 officers. Julia sits in the gallery, clutching Emily's hand. Caleb watches from a secure holding cell on a screen in another room. This isn't just a trial for murder. It's a reckoning for a man who believed he could choose who lived and who died. In courtroom, moments later, prosecutor, confident, Daniel Whitaker murdered 6 men. He claims they were abusers, rapists, criminals. But none were given a chance to defend themselves. The jury listens closely. Prosecutor, content, this is not vigilantism. It's premeditated murder. Caleb was watching the trial. Caleb's jaw tightens as he hears the prosecutor call Daniel a monster. Caleb, softly, you're just trying to make him small. You don't know what they did to us. In courtroom, defense turn, Daniel's attorney, Lara Voss, steps forward. Voss, measured, ladies and gentlemen, this case is complicated. Yes, my client took lives. But who were those lives? She holds up police records, mugshots, court documents. Voss, conted, 6 men with long histories of abuse. Dozens of victims. The justice system failed them. Daniel didn't. Murmurs from the crowd. A juror shifts uncomfortably. Voss, conted, this is not a defense of murder. This is a cry to fix a broken system. In courtroom, day 3, victim testimony, a woman takes the stand. Lauren Wells, daughter of one of Daniel's victims. Lauren, angrily, my father was innocent. But he didn't deserve to die like that. Slaughtered in his home. You don't get to play judge and executioner, Mr. Whitaker. Daniel can't meet her eyes. Lauren, conted, you turned us into orphans. How is that justice? In jail cell, later that night, Daniel sits in the dark, haunted by Lauren's words. He pulls out his daughter's drawing, a crayon sketch of their family before the storm. Daniel, softly, I thought I was protecting children like you. Narrator voiceover, for the first time, Daniel sees the truth. That in trying to save the innocent, he may have made more victims. In courtroom, day 5, Julia testifies. Julia sits on the stand, eyes red from crying. Julia, I didn't know the man I married was capable of this. The prosecutor leans in. Prosecutor, Mrs. Whitaker, in your opinion, does your husband feel remorse? Julia hesitates. Julia, choking, I think he wanted to help. but he became the thing he hated. Daniel lowers his head. In courtroom, day 6, surprise witness, Voss. Your Honor, we'd like to call a surprise witness. Caleb Trent gasps in the room. Even Daniel is stunned. Caleb is escorted in, chained, guarded by federal agents. Voss, Mr. Trent, you lived with the Whitaker family for 7 years. Can you tell the court who Daniel was to you? Caleb looks at Daniel. His voice is even. Caleb, he was my father, the only real one I ever had. Voss, and did he ever teach you to kill? Caleb pauses. Caleb, not directly, but he showed me that some people don't deserve to live. He gave me a blueprint. Murmurs ripple through the courtroom. Prosecutor, interrupting, so he did inspire your crimes. Caleb, cold, he lit the match. I chose to burn the forest. Caleb locks eyes with Daniel, a twisted mix of love and blame. Caleb, conted, he made me believe it was justice. But all it ever was revenge. In courtroom, recess, later, Daniel and Julia share one last look across the courtroom. She mouths, tell the truth. He nods. In courtroom, final day, Daniel testifies. Daniel takes the stand. Daniel, I'm not going to make excuses. I killed those men. I believed I was protecting others from the pain I'd seen. He looks to the jury. Daniel, conted, but I was wrong. I became the very thing I feared. And I let a child, Caleb, believe that pain was purpose. He turns to the judge. Daniel, conted, I ask for no leniency. Only that my daughter be spared my legacy. Silence. Even the reporters stopped typing. There it was. The moment the world had waited for. The killer repented. In jury room, verdict time, the jurors sit in silence. One by one, they raise their hands. The foreperson steps forward. In courtroom, verdict read, bailiff. Has the jury reached a verdict? FOREPERSON. We have, Your Honor. On the charge of first-degree murder, we find the defendant guilty. The room erupts. Daniel closes his eyes. Julia cries silently. Emily buries her face in her mother's side. Caleb, watching from his holding cell, doesn't react. Justice was served, but the scars left behind would never fully heal. One man sentenced to die for playing God. Another lost in a war between pain and purpose. But justice has many faces, and not all of them are merciful. In prison, death row unit, early morning, Daniel Whitaker sits alone in his cell. His face is calm, aged by guilt. A guard appears. Guard, you've got one last visit. Daniel stands. His wrists are cuffed. He doesn't ask who. He already knows. In visitation room, minutes later, Caleb Trent sits behind the glass. Older, colder, eyes like stone. Daniel takes the seat across from him. For a moment, silence. Then, CALEB. They're going to kill you. Daniel, I know. Caleb, you gonna ask me to stop them? Daniel, shaking head, no. I deserve this. Caleb leans forward. Caleb, do you regret saving me? Daniel, I regret not saving all of you. Caleb's hands curl into fists. Caleb, you taught me how to hate, how to hunt. You gave me purpose, then called it poison. Daniel, because I saw what it turned you into. Caleb, bitter, what it turned you into. Two monsters born of trauma. One desperate for redemption, the other drunk on righteousness. In prison, chapel, later that day, Daniel kneels before a prison chaplain. He isn't praying for forgiveness, just for peace. In the FBI interrogation room, same time, Caleb is interviewed by Agent Monroe. Monroe, you could still help others, Caleb. Testify. Explain how you were radicalized. Save some kids from becoming you. Caleb, shrugging, or maybe the world deserves more like me. Monroe, you're not a prophet. You're just a kid who never healed. Caleb scoffs, but behind his eyes, doubt. In courthouse, press conference, same day, Julia steps up to a podium. Reporters gather. She clears her throat. Julia, my husband killed people. My daughter will grow up knowing that. But she will also grow up knowing he tried to make it right. She steps back. No questions. No follow-up. Just silence. In the storm Daniel created, Julia stood as the last beam of integrity. Unbending. Unbroken. In death row, final hours, Daniel receives his last meal. He doesn't touch it. A guard hands him a letter from Emily. Emily, VO, child's voice. Dear Daddy, Mommy said you're going to heaven. I hope it's pretty. I miss you. I love you. Don't be scared. You're still my hero. Daniel folds the note and holds it to his chest. Tears fall. For all his sins, he was still her father. In execution chamber at night. A small, sterile room. Few witnesses. The chaplain, Julia, Monroe, one reporter. A priest recites scripture. Daniel lies on the gurney. IV lines inserted. His breathing steady. Priest, may God have mercy on your soul. Daniel, softly, may he have mercy on all of us. A button is pressed. Lethal injection begins. Seconds pass. Daniel closes his eyes. A tear rolls down. His chest rises and falls. And does not rise again. He was a loving father by day. a killer by night, and in the end, a man who dared to look his darkness in the eye and accept the price. In the juvenile detention center, final scene, Caleb sits in his own cell, staring at a blank wall. A Bible lies untouched beside him. He pulls out a pencil and begins to write. Caleb, VO, I don't know what I am anymore. But I know who I never want to become again. Daniel Whitaker was my father, and I watched him die. Maybe that's what it takes to finally live. He draws a bird in flight. Free. The cycle ends here, not with fire, but with choice. Daniel Whitaker was buried in an unmarked grave. Julia changed Emily's last name. Caleb Trent was sentenced to life, but now leads a restorative justice program for at-risk youth. Final message to everyone, just